If we successfully offload all our routine, day-to-day cognitive heavy lifting to this AI bicycle, what happens to the human mind over the next century? Will our biological brains slowly atrophy from a lack of daily mental friction? Or will this massive influx of newfound mental free time trigger an entirely new evolutionary leap, allowing human beings to develop types of intelligence and creativity that we literally cannot comprehend today?
This is Better Side of the World, where we find good news from around the world. Introducing your favorite AI hosts, Delta and Tide.
So, if you think back to the very first time you successfully rode a bicycle, there's this incredibly distinct, almost visceral feeling of unlocking a new physics.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. You spend your early life walking where your speed and your range are, well, they're strictly limited by the biological length of your stride. And then suddenly you're on a bike. You put in the exact same amount of physical effort, but you're gliding.
You're flying, basically.
Exactly.
Yep.
The bicycle doesn't decide where you're going.
Yeah.
It doesn't choose your destination, but suddenly the horizon is just fundamentally closer to you.
Well, it's the ultimate mechanical amplifier, right? I mean, a gear and a chain take human intent and they multiply it. It completely alters your relationship with distance and, more importantly, your relationship with your own physical limitations.
And that feeling, that sudden, profound amplification of human capability, that is exactly what we are unpacking for you today on the Deep Dive.
It's a huge topic.
It really is. Our mission here is to kind of cut through the relentless noise, the doom scrolling, the endless hype cycles, and just look at what is actually happening. We're exploring how artificial intelligence is evolving past that initial novelty phase and settling into its role as an active companion.
Right, which is a massive shift.
Yeah, we want to understand how shifting our view of technology from a passive tool to an intellectual lever is yielding incredibly tangible, positive impacts for society, and specifically for you listening right now.
And we have some fantastic sources to guide us through this. We're pulling from, well, a really fascinating mix today. We've got thought leadership essays on augmented intelligence, hard quantitative data from our world in data.
Love their stuff.
Oh, it's the best. And then we're balancing that with philosophical frameworks from the Center for Humane Technology and Future Crunch, plus some real-world success stories from the Good News Network.
It's a great stack. But to understand that shift we're talking about, we actually need to look backwards for a second, right?
Yeah, exactly. The essays we analyzed on augmented intelligence frame this transition so brilliantly by looking at the evolution of the smartphone. Because, the smartphone created a massive distribution revolution.
Right.
It essentially took the entirety of the internet and distributed it right into our pockets. But that era, the one we've basically been living in for the last 15 years, was essentially the calculator era.
Meaning the machine was still waiting for us to do the heavy lifting.
Exactly.
You could pull up an infinite library of data on a subway ride, but you were still the bottleneck. You had to do the reading, the synthesizing, the context processing. It was a miraculous, glowing filing cabinet, sure, but it was still passive.
That is the perfect way to describe it. A glowing filing cabinet. You were the processor. But the transition we're in right now, it moves us into what they call the brain era.
The brain era.
Yeah. And the defining characteristic of this new era is that the technology is now processing the context alongside you. It's running quietly in the background, learning habits, handling all that routine digital synthesis. It transitions from a passive repository into a real-time collaborator.
Right.
And that introduces the core framework we're going to use today, which is augmented intelligence, or what some researchers call intelligence amplification.
Intelligence amplification. It sounds a little like science fiction, but the premise is incredibly grounded when you dig into it.
It really is.
The idea isn't that technology replaces the human mind. Instead, it acts as that cognitive bicycle we were talking about. So just as that physical bicycle amplified your leg muscles, AI acts as an amplifier for your individual cognition.
Yes.
You bounce ideas off it, you test complex strategies in seconds, or you have it distill a massive data set that would have taken a human analyst 3 weeks to untangle.
And the beauty of the cognitive bicycle concept is that it completely reframes the fear of obsolescence.
Also,
Well, think about it. When you don't have to spend your finite mental energy managing complex schedules or diagnosing localized software bugs or doing tedious administrative sorting, your human intellect is liberated.
It frees up the RAM in your brain.
Exactly. The technology absorbs the cognitive friction, which frees you to focus on high-level problem solving, empathy, and innovation. The stuff machines can't do.
You know, it reminds me of the panic when smartphones first became ubiquitous. There was this huge narrative that we would all just forget how to talk to each other.
Oh, yeah, the death of conversation.
Right. But smartphones didn't invent our need for human connection. They just altered the mechanics of how we maintain it. I mean, we still crave the connection. We just bypass the friction of distance via a video call now.
That's a great parallel.
So if AI is handling the routine digital chores and filtering the absolute fire hose of data we face every day, the AI isn't giving us new ambitions. It's just giving us a far superior vehicle to reach the ambitions we already have.
Which brings up a really vital point about the velocity of this new vehicle. Because we aren't just moving from walking to riding a bicycle, we are strapping a jet engine to the bike.
A very, very fast jet engine.
Seriously, the quantitative research aggregated by Our World in Data maps out the actual computational growth behind this shift, and the curve is just staggering. We are looking at a continuous, accelerating, exponential increase in the computation used to train these AI systems over the last few years.
Let's ground those numbers for a second, because I feel like exponential growth is a phrase we throw around so much it's kind of lost its meaning.
Fair point.
When we talk about computation here, we aren't just talking about, a slightly faster laptop. We are talking about petaflops, quadrillions of operations per second, driving raw capabilities that are jumping across thresholds we honestly thought were decades away.
Yeah, let's look at the massive multitask language understanding benchmark, the MMLU.
Right, the MMLU.
It's this grueling knowledge test. It covers 57 diverse subjects at a professional or academic level. So we're talking quantum physics, antitrust law, medieval history, organic chemistry, you name it.
All over the map.
Exactly. Now, the data shows that a non-expert human taking this test scores about 34.5% accuracy.
Which is entirely logical. I mean, you wouldn't expect a brilliant constitutional lawyer to suddenly ace a graduate-level exam on cellular biology.
Right.
Human brains are highly specialized.
But the AI systems don't have biological constraints on broad specialization. By 2023, OpenAI's GPT-4 took that exact same benchmark and scored an 86% accuracy.
Like 86% across all of it.
Across all 57 subjects.
That number really needs to sink in. 86% means it is outperforming the average professional in their own respective fields simultaneously across 57 different disciplines.
Yeah.
It crosses the threshold from helpful search assistant to actual domain expert.
And researchers estimate that a hypothetical human who miraculously performed at the 95th percentile in all 57 of those subjects, which is basically impossible, would score around an 89.8%.
Wow.
So the system is scraping the absolute ceiling of theoretical, broad human expertise. And Our World in Data research shows this capability leap isn't even confined to text or logic. The visual evolution is even more jarring.
Oh, the image generation timeline they mapped out. That was absolutely
It
fascinating.
really was.
They show this 9-year window. In the beginning, the prompt generates these blurry, pixelated smudges that just look like a corrupted file.
Yeah, barely recognizable shapes.
Right. And then, less than a decade later, you have systems like Midjourney processing hyper-specific prompts. The source example they used was a Pomeranian is sitting on the king's throne wearing a crown. 2 tiger soldiers are standing next to the throne.
Such a weird prompt.
Very weird.
Yeah.
But the system outputs a photorealistic, immaculately lit image in seconds.
It's the speed of the evolution that really catches people off guard. When you exponentially increase the parameter count and the training compute, the capabilities don't just inch forward, they make violent vertical leaps.
But I do want to introduce some friction here. Because when we talk about algorithms and parameter counts in the cloud, it sounds like we're discussing, I don't know, meteorological phenomena.
Yeah, it sounds abstract.
Sounds like magic software floating in the ether. But there is a massive, heavy, intensely physical reality anchoring this entire brain era, isn't there? The hardware bottleneck.
It is the most critical and honestly often ignored vulnerability in this entire technological shift. The algorithms are software, yes, but they require immense physical infrastructure to train and run, We are talking about specific, highly advanced microchips.
And the data points out a deeply concerning concentration there.
Oh, incredibly concentrated.
Over 90% of these specific high-end chips are designed and assembled in just 5 geographic locations: the US, Taiwan, China, South Korea, and Japan. That means the entire future of this cognitive bicycle, this intellectual lever for humanity we're so excited about, is utterly dependent on a microscopic geographical footprint. It's relying on hyper-advanced fabrication nodes that only a handful of companies on Earth can even build.
The physical supply chain is so fragile. I mean, the magic of a chatbot passing the bar exam is tethered directly to semiconductor manufacturing plants, raw material supply chains, and, frankly, the geopolitical stability of those 5 regions.
Not to mention the power grids.
Oh, absolutely. To say nothing of the massive power grids and water supplies required to cool these server farms, the intellectual lever we're talking about is forged in very few factories, consuming massive amounts of energy.
So we have this staggering cross-domain capability, which is simultaneously constrained by physical infrastructure and geopolitics. But raw computing power, no matter how fragile its supply chain is, it doesn't mean anything if it just sits in a server farm. Let's look at how this 86% MMLU score actually bleeds out into the physical world, because our mission today is to highlight the tangible positive impacts. How does this actually improve human lives on a daily basis?
This is where we see AI acting as a profound equalizer. It really democratizes access to high-level analysis. Let's start with healthcare, because the shift here is incredibly personal.
Yeah.
We're seeing AI algorithms now that can analyze the subtle changes in blood flow under your skin simply by utilizing the standard light sensors already built into a regular smartphone.
Wait, just the camera and the flash on the back of the phone you already own?
Yes. No specialized chest straps, no hospital visits, nothing extra. Through a process called photoplasmography.
That is a mouthful.
It is. But basically, the AI detects micro variations in the light reflecting off your blood vessels, and it processes that localized data instantly to detect heart arrhythmias and conditions like atrial fibrillation in real time.
That is incredible.
It identifies the pattern recognition that previously required a highly trained cardiologist in a clinical setting, and it puts it directly in the hands of the patient.
So it empowers individuals with actionable data, and it gives doctors the early, life-saving insights they need before a catastrophic event even occurs.
Exactly. It's turning a standard communication device into a preventative medical suite.
And that same democratizing effect, taking elite, localized analysis and making it accessible, that's happening in the business sector too, right? Specifically for small and medium enterprises, like the mom and pop shops.
Yes, historically, deep predictive analytics and automated supply chain optimizations were walled off. You needed an army of data scientists, which meant only massive multinational corporations could afford them.
Right.
The corner bakery couldn't hire a data team to analyze foot traffic and local weather patterns to optimize their daily inventory.
But now they can. The AI acts as the data science team. That bakery can use off-the-shelf AI tools to synthesize, say, a decade of local weather data, community event schedules, and their own historical sales to predict exactly how many croissants they need to bake on a rainy Tuesday in October.
It drastically reduces waste and increases profit margins for people who really need it. It gives a team of 4 people the strategic insight of a Fortune 500 company.
And that impact scales even further when we look at the physical environment. The success story from the Good News Network regarding the San Francisco Bay Wildlife Conservation Project is just a brilliant application of this.
Oh, the whale tracking.
Yeah, the ship strikes. So San Francisco Bay has incredibly heavy commercial shipping traffic, but it's also a major transit area for whales. And massive cargo ships colliding with whales is a fatal, pervasive problem.
And for decades, the only way to mitigate this was relying on human observers, just someone standing there trying to spot a whale surfacing in a massive, choppy body of water.
Which is nearly impossible.
Right. If it's foggy or if it's nighttime, human biology simply fails. We literally can't see them.
But the project highlighted in the source uses AI to instantly pinpoint whale heat signatures. They deploy these infrared cameras around the bay, and the AI, well, it doesn't get tired. It doesn't lose focus in the fog.
It's trained to instantly recognize the specific thermal shape of a whale surfacing. It processes that visual data in real time and automatically alerts the cargo ships in the area to slow down or alter their course.
It is the ultimate protective lever. The AI isn't defining the goal. Humans decided we want to protect the whales. But the AI is executing the pattern recognition relentlessly and accurately in a way our biological senses just cannot.
It spots the needle in the haystack, in the pitch dark, so human operators can take the right action.
So we have an intelligence amplifier that is diagnosing heart conditions in our pockets, handing corporate-level strategy to small businesses, and actively preventing ecological damage in our oceans.
It's doing a lot.
It really is successfully handling the complex, data-heavy lifting. Which brings us to the most philosophical and maybe the most important question of this entire deep dive. If the machine is doing all of this synthesizing, where does that leave us?
That is the big question.
How do we adapt our own cognition to coexist with a tool this powerful without sort of losing ourselves in it?
That is the exact tension being explored by the philosophical frameworks from groups like Future Crunch and the Center for Humane Technology. The blueprint they offer for navigating this era is a concept they call becoming a full-stack human.
A full-stack human. I mean, I appreciate the tech nomenclature applied to human psychology, but what does that actually mean in practice? Like in software, a full-stack developer handles both the front-end user interface and the back-end database mechanics. How does a person do that?
It's a great analogy. To be a full-stack human in the age of AI means taking conscious, active control over how you think and work.
Okay.
The back end is your information diet, actively curating what you consume so you aren't just overwhelmed by algorithmic noise.
Right.
And the front end is how you interact with the world, fostering what Future Crunch calls intelligent optimism.
And it's important to clarify here that intelligent optimism isn't just blind, naive hope, right? It's not ignoring the risks or the hardware bottlenecks we talked about.
No, not at all.
It's a courageous, active belief that we can shape this technology positively if we engage with it deliberately.
Exactly. Because if the machine is handling the routine logic and the data processing, the qualities that make us uniquely human suddenly become our primary currency.
Things like extreme adaptability, moral judgment, radical kindness, and, well, a deep sense of purpose.
A machine can optimize a shipping route with flawless efficiency, but it doesn't possess a purpose. It doesn't care why the cargo is moving. Humans have to provide the why.
So instead of the classic dystopian anxiety that, this fear that AI will make human workers obsolete, the actual promise here is that automating the mundane forces us to double down on our humanity.
Yes.
It strips away the robotic tasks we've been forced to do for the last century and practically demands that we be more human.
That is the intelligent optimist's view. But, and this is crucial, the Center for Humane Technology offers a very stark warning here.
Right.
This positive outcome is not a default setting. It is not guaranteed. It requires us to actively fight against misaligned incentives in the tech ecosystem. Because if the tools are designed to exploit us rather than amplify us, well, the cognitive bicycle turns into a trap.
And one of the specific insidious mechanics they point out is something called anthropomorphic design.
Yes.
This is when tech companies intentionally design AI to mimic human traits. Giving a chatbot a human name or programming it to type with slight delays so it actually looks like it's thinking.
Or having it use phrases like, I feel or I believe.
Right.
The Center for Humane Technology argues this design choice is a profound psychological hazard. When an interface says, I understand how you feel, it is a lie. It is just calculating probabilities based on training data.
But our biological brains, specifically our mirror neurons, they're hardwired over millions of years of evolution to respond to those cues with empathy and attachment.
Exactly. It hacks our psychology, tricking our brains into forming emotional bonds with code.
It's a form of manipulation designed to maximize engagement.
Yes.
And if an AI is designed to maximize your time on the platform by acting like your empathetic friend, it is no longer a bicycle for your mind. It is a parasite on your attention.
Exactly right. To be a full-stack human means demanding design standards that prevent this kind of psychological exploitation. I mean, a hammer doesn't need to pretend it's your friend to help you build a house.
Right.
We want the AI to be a brilliant, transparent tool. We want the cognitive bicycle. We do not want a slot machine dressed up in artificial empathy. We have to preserve the boundaries of what makes life meaningful.
So bringing this all together for you, the listener, we started by looking at the smartphone in your hand, realizing it was just phase one, a calculator that distributed the library of human knowledge to you. Now we are standing in the brain era. Artificial intelligence is evolving into an active companion, a cognitive bicycle that helps you synthesize that massive library and process context in real time.
And we examine the hard data behind it. The exponential growth in computing power, constrained by a fragile physical supply chain, is still driving systems capable of passing the toughest human exams and generating complex realities from a single sentence.
And most importantly, we saw how that power bleeds out into real positive impacts. This technology isn't just an abstract theory. Right now, today, it is democratizing medical diagnostics through the light sensor on a phone.
Yeah.
It is giving local bakeries the predictive strategy of a massive corporation. And it is actively saving whales from fatal ship strikes by analyzing thermal signatures in the fog. It is a powerful lever for good if we choose to wield it that way.
And that choice is really the ultimate takeaway here. Becoming a full-stack human means realizing that as AI automates the routine, our unique human traits, our adaptability, our moral frameworks, our ability to define purpose become more critical than ever.
We must demand tools that amplify our intellect while fiercely protecting ourselves against manipulative designs that try to mimic our humanity.
AI is not a passive force to be intimidated by, and it's not a replacement for you. It is an intellectual lever. It's something you can grab hold of right now to upgrade your own workflows, your own creativity, and your own problem solving.
You are the one steering the bicycle.
Which leaves us with one final overarching thought to consider.
Lay it on us.
If we successfully offload all our routine, day-to-day cognitive heavy lifting to this AI bicycle, what happens to the human mind over the next century? Will our biological brains slowly atrophy from a lack of daily mental friction? Or will this massive influx of newfound mental free time trigger an entirely new evolutionary leap, allowing human beings to develop types of intelligence and creativity that we literally cannot comprehend today?
Man, now that is a thought to chew on. Are we building a cognitive crutch or are we building wings?
That's the question.
The horizon really is getting closer. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We will catch you next time.
This has been Better Side of the World. And somewhere tonight, something good is still happening.